Now, we're going to start out today's workshop by talking about resentment. And most of you are here today based on the little questionnaire that you filled out prior to coming into this workshop because your relationship is in trouble. Some of you are here because you just want to learn more about how relationships affect people with Asperger's, and that's certainly fine too. Some of you have had difficulty getting into a relationship and currently are not in one, and you'd like to figure out how to improve your relationship skills so that you can someday soon find a love relationship. But according to the answers in your questionnaires, most of you are here currently in a relationship and struggling with it, or you're already divorced. So those of you who are struggling or facing divorce or are already divorced, a dynamic that's going on behind the scenes is resentment. So I want to look at that first. Now, all I mean by resentment is something angered you back in the day. You felt that something was unfair, that you were being treated poorly, and that needed to change. But over time, the problems in question never changed. And as a result, that anger turned hard in the form of resentment. So anger is something's going on in this relationship that's unfair. I'm feeling mistreated. It needs to change. Resentment is, my partner is not going to change, and I feel like it's really affecting my mental health. So do you catch the difference between anger and resentment there? Now, guess who has the biggest problem in the relationship? Is it the Asperger's man or the neurotypical woman? Now, some people are suggesting it's the Asperger's man. No, it's the person who has the biggest problem in the relationship is the neurotypical wife. The Asperger's man feels like, in most cases, feels like the relationship is just fine. He's perfectly okay with the status quo. It's the wife that's having the biggest problem with the relationship. Now, why is that? Well, let me say up front that it's multifactorial. In other words, there's no one simple explanation for this, but the main reason that the wife has the biggest issue with the relationship is because the relationship is one of her major priorities. Whereas with the man, the Asperger's man, his major priority is his special interest, which is usually his employment or an obsessive topic of interest or an obsessive hobby. And I do use the term obsessive because it's been my experience that the Asperger's man tends to spend more time with his special activity, or at least he prefers to spend more time with his special activity than with his relationships. That doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It just means that he's more task-oriented and less relationship-oriented than his spouse. So for the neurotypical wife, if the relationship is not functioning properly, she's the one that's upset. For the Asperger's man, if, for example, his business is struggling, or let's say that his obsession is the computer and his computer is broke, he's the one that's upset. Now, this doesn't mean that the Asperger's man does not care about his wife. I'm not suggesting that for 1 minute. But I think that it can be said that pretty much across the board, the Asperger's husband is very much more task-oriented and less relationship-oriented.